Oh, say can you see by the dawn's
Assassination attempts and plots on presidents of the United States have been numerous. More than 20 attempts to kill sitting and former presidents and presidents-elect are known. 4 sitting presidents have been killed, all of them by gunshot: Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president; James A. Garfield, the 20th president; William McKinley, the 25th president; and John F. Kennedy, the 35th president. 2 presidents were injured in attempted assassinations, also by gunshot: Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president, and Ronald Reagan, the 40th president. With the exception of Lyndon B. Johnson, every president's life since John F. Kennedy has been threatened with assassination. Abraham Lincoln. The assassination of President Lincoln took place on Good Friday, April 14, 1865, at approximately 10:15 p.m. Lincoln was shot once in the back of his head with the .44 caliber Derringer pistol by actor and Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth while watching the play Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, and 2 guests. Major Henry Rathbone tried to stop Booth from escaping, but Booth stabbed him in the chest and slashed his arm to the bone with a dagger that he was also carrying. Soon after Lincoln was shot, his wound was declared to be fatal. The unconscious president was then carried across the street from the theater to the Peterson House, where he remained in a coma for 9 hours before dying the following morning at 7:22 a.m. on April 15. Booth was tracked down by Union soldiers and was shot and killed by Sergeant Boston Corbett on April 26, 1865. Booth apparently believed that killing Lincoln would radically change U.S. policy toward the South. Vice President Andrew Johnson and Secretary of State William H. Seward were targeted in the same plot. However, Johnson's would-be assassin, George Atzerodt, lost his nerve and failed to go through with the attack, while Lewis Powell, who was assigned to kill Seward, was only able to inflict largely superficial injuries due to a combination of his gun misfiring and intervention from Seward's family. James A. Garfield. The assassination of President Garfield took place in Washington, D.C., at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, July 2, 1881, less than 4 months after he took office. Charles J. Guiteau shot him twice, once in his right arm and the other in his back, with a .442 Webley British Bulldog revolver, as the president was arriving at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad station. Garfield died 11 weeks later, on September 19, 1881, at 10:35 p.m., of complications caused by infections. Guiteau was immediately arrested. After a highly publicized trial which lasted from November 14, 1881 to January 25, 1882, he was found guilty and sentenced to death. A subsequent appeal was rejected, and he was executed by hanging on June 30, 1882 in the District of Columbia, 2 days before the first anniversary of the attempt. Guiteau was assessed during his trial as mentally unbalanced and possibly suffered from some kind of bipolar disorder or from the effects of syphilis on the brain. He claimed to have shot Garfield out of disappointment for being passed over for appointment as ambassador to France. He attributed the president's victory in the election to a speech he wrote in support of Garfield. William McKinley. The assassination of President McKinley took place at 4:07 p.m. on Friday, September 6, 1901, at the Temple of Music in Buffalo, New York. McKinley, attending the Pan American Exposition, was shot twice in the abdomen at close range by Leoncio Gauche, a self-proclaimed anarchist, who was armed with the .32 caliber revolver wrapped up in what seemed to be a bandage. The first bullet ricocheted off either a button or an award medal on McKinley's jacket and lodged in his sleeve, but the second shot pierced his stomach. McKinley died 7 days later, on September 14, 1901, at 2:15 a.m., after his condition rapidly declined. members of the crowd captured and subdued Czolgosz. Afterward, the 4th Brigade, National Guard Signal Corps, and police intervened, beating Czolgosz so severely it was initially thought he might not live to stand trial. On September 24, after a rushed, 2-day trial in state court, Czolgosz was sentenced to death. He was executed by electric chair in Auburn Prison on October 29, 1901. Czolgosz's actions were politically motivated, although it remains unclear what outcome, if any, he believed the shooting would yield. Following the assassination of President William McKinley, Congress directed the Secret Service to protect the President of the United States as part of its mandate. John F. Kennedy. The assassination of President Kennedy took place on Friday, November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, at 12:30 p.m. Kennedy was fatally shot twice through his neck and his head by a sniper while riding with his wife Jacqueline in a presidential motorcade through Dealey Plaza. He was officially declared dead 30 minutes after the shooting at Parkland Memorial Hospital, but he was effectively brain dead instantly. Texas Governor John Connally, who was sitting in front of Kennedy, was also wounded in the shooting but survived. The assassination was filmed by Dallas dressmaker Abraham Zapruder. Lee Harvey Oswald, an employee of the Texas School Book Depository in Dealey Plaza, and a former U.S. Marine with Marxist beliefs, was arrested shortly after at the Texas Theater after agents found his rifle with shell casings on the 6th floor of the depository. Oswald was originally arrested for killing Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit after the assassination. At 11:21 a.m. Sunday, November 24, 1963, while he was handcuffed to Detective Jim Lavelle and as he was about to be taken to the Dallas County Jail, Oswald was shot and fatally wounded in the basement of Dallas Police Headquarters by Jack Ruby, a Dallas nightclub operator who said that he had been distraught over the Kennedy assassination. The shooting by Ruby was televised, as Oswald's transfer was being covered by the media. Oswald was taken unconscious by ambulance to Parkland Memorial Hospital where he died at 1:07 p.m. Ruby was convicted of Oswald's murder and died in prison in 1967. The 10-month investigation of the Warren Commission of 1963 to 1964 concluded that President Kennedy was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald and that Oswald had acted entirely alone. They also concluded that Jack Ruby acted alone when he killed Oswald before he could stand trial. Nonetheless, polls conducted from 1966 to 2004 found that as many as 80% of Americans have suspected that there was a plot or cover-up. Doubts and conspiracy theories continue to persist.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed?
Thanks for watching. Do not forget to like, subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks for your support.